What is up, everybody? Hunter with the Lost Socket Garage, and today class is in session. Welcome to Coupe to Fastback University. Let's get it. All right, in this multi-part series, we are going to be covering the tools that you need, the parts that you need, how to build a jig. We're going to be covering putting together side assemblies. We're going to be covering exactly where to cut your coupe in half to turn it into a fastback. We'll cover all of the measurements. We're going to cover everything in this video series, so definitely like and subscribe. Let's take a look at what we're cutting into. All right, you may be looking at this 67 Mustang coupe and saying, damn, this thing is pretty. And, like, you're right. But this has a lot of sentimental value to the owner. This thing is super clean, has a lot of awesome upgrades. We're going to be doing a full build, full restoration on this thing. First off, it's pretty green color. Say hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
Say hi, lady.
Hi, guys.
All right, this 67 is gorgeous. Doesn't really need any metal work. This thing has been incredibly well kept. A lot of add-ons came inside the car. Most likely, if you're following along at home, your car is not going to look this good, but it's okay. Same process either way. They had a lot of fun gluing the old carpet down. There's a little bit of surface rust we need to get to. All of this stuff is going to be coming out. We're also going to be covering exactly what you need to pull out of your coupe to do the fastback conversion. This thing is going to be a stock look 67 fastback when we're done. This thing is so clean. I really do hate to cut it in half, but like, it's gonna be pretty. All right, in this episode, in the first episode of Coupe to Fastback University, we are going to be covering exactly the tools that you need, all of the parts that you need, as well as what to take off your car to start with. All right, let's talk about all the tools that you're going to need to pull this off. Now, first off, we have to do the boring stuff. We have to talk about PPE. Now, there are a couple of things that really help us out. First off, obviously, you're going to need welding gloves. You'll need some leather gloves. This thing, the grinder hood from Benchmarkabrasives, I don't know how we did work without this thing, because if you just use safety goggles, a lot of times when you're cutting and grinding, stuff can bounce in off of like a respirator into your eye holes and stuff and really hurts. Benchmarkabrasives, you can actually fit a mask underneath this, so this is an awesome thing. Link's down below. Link is down below for everything that you see here. This is a welding helmet from Yeswelder. This is their welding helmet 3.0. This thing actually has a really big field of view in it, which is pretty damn nice. I don't know if you can like get a shot of that. It's pretty dope. This thing's really, really awesome. Big shout out to Yeswelder for sending this out to us. I loved the field of vision on it. It was really cool. And then, you know, the visor is pops out super easy as well. Now, a couple of the hand tools that you're going to need, well, other PPE stuff. Loud noises makes you deaf. Huh? Mallet for hitting stuff. Ball peen for hitting stuff harder. Pry bar for moving stuff, because you need to move stuff with great force and leverage. Hand chisel for hitting other stuff off, you know, spot welds and stuff. Measuring tape, because we definitely need one of those. Need something to mark your measurements with and all of your stuff. Get like a box of these. Hand torch is really nice because it actually helps you shape the quarter panel around the tail panel a little bit better, makes stuff a little bit more malleable. Also, a lot of the stock bolts that you're going to be taking off are going to be fairly rusted, so heating stuff up before you take it out, that's always nice too. This little tool, impact screwdriver, this thing is actually really, really nice for taking off your door strikers. If you're only doing one of these, then you probably don't need it, but you want to keep your strikers. This thing's awesome. Basically, you push in, twist, and hit it with a hammer, and it gets out those funky shaped striker bolts. Let's talk about clamps. We got to hold the metal together before we weld it and before we screw it in, so we use a variety of clamps here. OG 6-inch C clamps. We got the foot long. These are awesome for wheel wells, also quarter panels in some instances. when I name these, I just say this. Give me these pliers, the snake fang pliers. The
Technically, welding clamps is what they're called.
They're all welding clamps because we weld with the clamps. Flat clamps, these are used for the angle iron on the filler panel. We love these, just the plain old, put a lot of anger behind it, keeps the panels down. You can get the ones with the feetsies, but sometimes you end up welding the feetsies together and they don't work as well. Now let's talk about consumables. You're going to be using a lot of consumables to cut the car in half, to grind down welds, to get the old body filler out of places, a bunch of different stuff. So first off, the main things we use are the 4.5-inch cutting discs from Benchmarkabrasives. It's where we get all of our abrasives from now. We just happen to now be sponsored by them. We've been using their stuff for years. We absolutely love it. We use their flap discs, their 4.5-inch flap discs. We also use their little 2-inch flap discs, as well as just their 2-inch sanding discs. The wire wheels are good for getting all of the gunk out. There's going to be a lot of old seam seal and a lot of old Bondo and stuff like that you're going to need to get out before you cut into it so it doesn't light on fire. Also, self-tappers. Pro tip here, get the self-tappers open. Get the self-tappers with the hex head on it, with the 5/16 hex head on it, because if you use the Phillips bit, they're just, you go through so many Phillips bits doing it. So get these. Typically we'll have a box of 1-inchers and a box of 3/4 inch. You start off putting everything together with a 3/4 inch, and then as you finalize everything, you put the bigger screw in it and it holds it together a little bit tighter. Spot weld cutter. There's a few different styles of spot weld cutters out there. There are ones with the actual drill in the nose of it. I mean, there's a few. You can just use a drill bit if you really wanted. But it is a little bit easier to go with a spot weld cutter. You save the metal underneath of what you are cutting off. These things are on Amazon, super cheap. Okay, let's talk about air tools. Air hammer, super helpful. If you don't have one, you're going to be stuck using the ball peen hammer and the hand chisel, which you can totally do. But if you have a little bit of experience with the air hammer, or if you practice a little bit with it, this can be a really powerful tool to be able to break these cars down significantly faster and save your shoulder while doing it. You got the hole punch for the spot welds. It also comes with a beveling tool. This is super awesome. This will save you drill bits when you're prepping all of your panels. Die grinder for sanding stuff down, for grinding stuff down. Now let's talk about power tools for a second. We're not sponsored by any power tool places. We just use Milwaukee. But hey, Milwaukee, if you're listening, we use a lot of your stuff. Have your people contact my people. So we got a Sawzall. We actually just picked up this Bauer belt sander. This thing's pretty cool for getting into tight spaces. 4.5-inch. Now we use electric ones as well as the battery ones. These are just a little bit easier to get into a few places. You can also use the Bauer ones from Harbor Freight. Those are cheap and easy to use as well. You're going to need a drill and you're going to need an impact driver. This is a 5/16 bit with a little magnet in it. That's what you're going to be using for all of these self-tappers. See? It's like that. That's how you're going to hold your panels together. You got your coffee mug for late nights and whatever you want to put in that mug. I think this is shiny. Drill bits. Drill bits are important. There's a couple of different styles of drill bits you can go with. There's a step drill bit that's going to be very effective for doing your prep work, but it is going to put a bigger hole. If you're using it for spot welds, it is going to put a larger hole through that back panel, but we still end up using those step drill bits. Speaking of drill bits, oil your hole before you drill it. Next is the level. You got to make sure that everything is level. So here's our level. I don't know, is this a solid 3-footer?
That's what she said.
Get a level. Okay, there's some tools under the desk that we use as well. For jacking up your car, you need a jack. That's not photographed. That's not in the image, but it's okay. You need jack stands as well. The normal ones are good. The leveling ones, the screw stands rather, those are going to be really handy if you don't have the platform like we do, so that you can actually level out your whole car with the level. Hydraulic press down here. This is going to help you put on the jig if you're using a larger jig like we use. It's also going to help you get your trunk gap to 53 inches where it needs to be. So a hydraulic spreader is also, always nice. It's not completely needed, but your life is going to be a lot easier with it. Now, when cutting the car apart, you have a couple of different options. Usually we're using Sawzall blades, we're using 4.5-inch cutting wheels. Another thing that's going to be very helpful if you can spring for it is a plasma cutter, because the panels just come straight off. You can get these plasma cutters for fairly cheap. This is Jeg's one that has put in a lot of work. We've replaced the hose a couple of times. But this thing's really awesome for just getting massive panels off or cutting out the inner structure, etc. When it comes to welders, everybody has a favorite welder. We actually have a Lincoln over there that we do use for some suspension, etc. It welds pretty hot though, and typically we're welding a little bit of a thinner panel. So this guy, you got a couple of different options. This guy is a titanium from Harbor Freight. We have used this thing for a super long time. It has put in a ton of hours, a ton of work, and it's done very, very well for us. Solid welder, cheap price. It'll do what you need it to do. Another option is Yeswelder's new MiG 25DS Pro. This thing is super awesome, has a bunch of features on it. I can go over those in a separate video. One of the features on here that we like is as you adjust the wire speed, it will actually auto adjust the temperature for you while you're welding. So that thing is really, really cool. They have a couple of different flavors. They have like a 3-in-1 that actually comes with a plasma cutter, as well as MIG and stick and TIG. So a lot of cool stuff. Big shout out to Yeswelder for sending us this welder. We actually use this a ton on this conversion. Now let's talk about the parts that you're going to need for this conversion. So a lot of people refer to this as a conversion kit. It's not necessarily a kit. It's actually all the individual pieces that are repop for a fastback. cjponyparts is the only place that we get all of our metal from. They resell Dynacorn and others, etc. Their products are awesome. And what they've done is they put together a landing page for the parts and the entire kit for you. But what I'm going to do, I'll give you a list of all the parts and part numbers that you need to pull this off. So let's take a look at a couple of the parts. Okay, let's start with the side assemblies. Now, when you are ordering your parts, you have a couple of options if you have a 67 or 68 Coupe. You can go with the pre-welded side assemblies, which are about $800 more a side last time I checked, or you can go with the unwelded. Obviously, we always recommend going with the unwelded. Since the pre-welded side assemblies, we have seen issues with them in the past, and we end up taking them apart anyway to put them back together correctly to spec. So as far as the side assembly, it's going to end up looking like this. Derry is actually going to show us how to put all of this together here in just a second so you can put together your own side assembly. But you'll need your side assemblies, you'll need a rear roof support, you're going to need your trunk corners, you're going to need fastback drip rails, quarter panel extensions for a stock deck lid. On this one, we're going with a stock deck lid. If you're going a Shelby look, you're going to do the Shelby quarter extensions and the Shelby deck lid hinges, and the filler panel. And then we're going to go over here to the big pieces. You're also going to need your seat divider. You're going to need 67 quarters. In this case, we are doing 67 quarters. I recommend that if you are looking to do like a Shelby look, I would go ahead and put 68 quarters on the car because it's a little bit easier to install the lower side scoops on them versus the vented area. But this is going to be stock look. And then, of course, the roof. Now, that side assembly is going to come with literally the entire side of the car. It's going to come with the inner structure. It's going to come with the B-pillar. It's going to come with the outer kick panel. It's going to come with the A-pillar. It's the whole shebang. You really don't need all of that unless you're very, very rotted out up front. You really just need that inner structure bit. Also, the kit is going to come with your inner and outer wheel wells. That can be a nice bonus, but be warned, when you get the side assemblies, there's going to be a lot of it that you don't use. It will also, however, come with rocker panels, which is a very common rust area on these cars. You're going to have extra parts. All right, let's take a look at everything that you need to take out of your Mustang before you start cutting into it. First off, if you're only doing the coupe to fastback conversion, you can leave the motor in and the vast majority of the suspension. No big deal up front. Most of what we're doing is going to be right here. First off, as you can see, we took the front glass off. The easiest way to do that is just stick a razor blade straight through and cut off all that stripping, and then open palm, pop that bad boy out. Poof! Easy peasy. The more of the interior that you can take out, the better. Now this had a very, very overly glued carpet kit in it. We're actually going to be taking a lot of this old gunk and getting some of the surface rust off and going to be cranking away, making this a little bit prettier inside. But you definitely need to take the carpet out. You need to take your seats, back seats, headliner, all of your interior panels, these front door, front kick panels, those need to come out. You can leave your dash in if you wish. We typically leave the dashes in, but make sure that you get a welding blanket for it. So we'll throw a welding blanket over this because this is a nice dash. That way you don't get any sparks on it. You gotta take the interior lights out, the courtesy lights down there, or sorry, up there. Yes, you can take this glass out. Sometimes it's actually easier though just to cut this panel out so you can get to all the bolts and stuff. So we'll cover that in a bit. Doors do not necessarily have to come off. Rear glass, samesies, cut the trim out, take all your chrome off. You're not gonna need this rear glass whatsoever. Deck lid, hinges, torsion bars, which are super fun. That's Derry's favorite part. Anything that's in the trunk, anything that can catch on fire. We're gonna also take the gas tank out. Bumpers are nice to take off, valances, anything that you don't want scratched or have sparks thrown on it, you probably want to take off. Now, as far as your wiring harness is concerned, there is actually a loom that comes down here that can be problematic when you're cutting the car in half, especially when you start getting into the B-pillar. So this loom actually goes through, up, over the wheel well, comes out, back here, droops down, and that has your signal wire for your tank, and as well as your rear light looms. So this one is kind of a pain. You can pop it out once you start cutting, or if you're going to be doing a new wiring harness, just cut it up there right in the rocker. That way you don't have to worry about it. All right, let's talk about bracing your car before you cut it in half. Now, there is a cheap, okay way to do it, and there's a more expensive, betterist way to do it. And I'm going to show you both of those. But to understand why bracing is so important, you have to understand how the car is built. The Mustang is a unibody frame. Most modern frames will have frame rails that go all the way down your car for maximum support. And then you'll have A pillar, B pillar, sometimes C pillar, and then you'll have things that tie it together across and over top for maximum support. Well, a Mustang is a unibody frame, which means they did this to it.
So much torque, the chassis twisted coming off the line.
You got two frame rails up front, and you got two frame rails in back, like this. Now, you still have support up and down at your A pillars, B pillars, and like your back inner structure area. You see how it'd be pretty easy to twist this car. Now, when you're dealing with 60-year-old cars, they've been driven hard most likely, or they've been knocked around or impacted, etc. You can see with the unibody frame, it's going to be very, very easy for it to twist or collapse, taco in on itself. Now, when you're cutting this car in half, you're cutting out the vast majority of the structural support. So you can see why bracing the car is very, very important. So I'm going to walk you through the cheap version, the expensive version, and show you exactly where these connect in. I'm even going to give you measurements for this big guy if you want to follow along at home. Goose. Okay, I'm going to show you the cheap version first. This is our little Edgar Allan Poe.
That's not funny!
This is the first frame that we used when we opened the garage. And it's decent. It's very, very easy to do at home. It's fairly cheap. It basically does the trick. We soon had to upgrade right after that because we were doing so many of these. This will suffice as long as you follow other steps that we'll share with you later on here in the video. This is going to go onto your forward roof support, straight down to your trans tunnel. These little arms for this guy are going to go down to your rocker panels on each side, and then these come back and mount to the rear torque boxes, the rear supports. And essentially what that does is it keeps your support up here and transfers weight side to side, keeps you okay side to side. We actually have done some additional bracing But this is kind of the main part of it. Now, this is just 1x1 square tube. It's not anything crazy. It's okay if you're doing this at home on the cheap and maybe you're only doing one of these. Now, here's a look at this big boy. This we built quite a while back. We used the straightest coupe we could find, pulled some measurements off the interwebs, and this is what we came up with. So this is going to mount to the bottom of the car. Now, this is heavy duty 3/16 or 7 gauge steel. And pro tip, if you're building this at home, have the metal company do the cuts for you, because you really crank through a lot of chop saw blades if you're trying to do this yourself. Now, the method behind this is setting up 2 datum lines. The 2 datums are your level point. So everything that's mounted on that, you know that this base is your starting point. It is completely level. Now, what we use for this, again, a 2x4 beam, 3/16 or 7 gauge. That's about 14 feet. Get 2 of those. You guys ever get scared when you're like winding up a tape measure and it's gonna pinch you? I've been pinched before. It's not cool. So now that you have your 2 14-footers, essentially level them out. And then starting from the back of the car, how you're gonna build this. This is our crossbeam, another 2x4 by, let's see, how long is this? This one is just a little over 49 inches. Doesn't matter the length as much, only for the brackets or however you want to secure it to the datum. Now, we secured it to the datum with angle iron so that we can remove it and break it down. You can just straight weld it together, but good luck moving it around after that. This mount point is for, basically this is gonna go where your rear shackle mounts. So we've taken 2x2 steel and made our little post. This one is about 14 inches high, and then we just actually used more of the tube and just cut it off right here so it mounts right into your shackle, all nice. So that's 14 inches. You're gonna get 2 of those, make your little mounts, dangle them from the car. Now this one we actually used a little bit bigger tubing for. This is like a 3x3, and we made 2 posts that are 9.5. No, 9.25, about 9.25. And what this is gonna do is it's going to slip up straight into that front shackle mount. And you're gonna have to drill a hole once everything's lined up so that you can put the shackle bolt straight through it. And then again, another piece that's gonna be about 4 feet, a little over 4 feet. So you got 49 inches there of 2x4 3/16 steel for your cross brace. So build these 2, mount them into your car, dangle them loose. Okay, front part of it, another about 4 foot 2x4 of, well, it's 49 inches, 3/16, and then we come over here with our 2x2. Now this side, the driver's side, is going to mount where the steering box mounts, and then this side is actually going to mount to where your idler and pitman are, well, your idler, whatever. Again, 2x2, mount them up, and then dangle them down. Now this last piece works pretty damn well. I tried to replicate kind of like an auto twirler thing when I built it, but it's gonna go at the very, very front. And essentially what this is gonna do is it's going to slide over your frame rails. And we'll show you how we install this here in just a second, but it's going to essentially mount right here and then come straight down and then mount to the datums. That bad boy, another 49 inches. So just all of your cross supports are gonna be about 49 inches. Then, to make this little corner, we came up with 2x2. Came up at about 13.75. And then we added another piece. I just made a little triangle here, angle cut. And then this piece up top that slides over your frame rail, it's about 14 inches. 14 inches in, again, this distance doesn't matter just as long as it's going to mount into that further rear bolt on your frame rail. Now when putting all this together, again, we just used angle iron to mount the cross supports and just some grade 9 bolts. We also put wheels on it because I wanted to be able to move it around. We had wheels like welded onto it. That was not the play. So we ended up just making little plates and getting some Harbor Freight wheels and then bolting them in, because if we bolt them in and we have a steel plate on the bottom here, it makes the next step of the process fairly easy when it, or well, not the very next step, but it makes leveling the car for us a lot easier. The reason for that is all of this is sitting on a steel platform that's totally overkill. If we didn't do so many of these, we probably wouldn't own one of these. But all of this is sitting on a steel platform that we have leveled out. So we can take the wheels off. It sits on these plates completely level with our platform as well. This is a lot, it's not a lot of work, but it's worth it, because what this is essentially doing is it's tying the entire car together. Normally, technically, your frame rail is going to stop, continues back, goes under the torque box. It's going to stop right around this area, and then it's the floor support that runs till, I don't know, like here-ish, right around this area. The floor support is kind of the, I mean, it's technically frame rail-ish. And then you have an entire gap right here, and the only thing running across is your trans support that attaches from frame rail to frame rail. So if we end up cutting a car in half like that, there's a danger that these rockers will give way and sag in the middle. We don't want that. So every single major structural point underneath the car is mounted to a level plane. Now from that, we know that our A pillars are going to stay level. We know that when we put in new B pillars, those are going to be level. That's going to give us the structural support up and down and across. So again, there is a fairly easy and cheap way to brace up your car. You can add additional 1x1 across from rocker to rocker if you're not touching the floor. That you can do your own bracing. It doesn't have to be the, you know, the Edgar Allan Poe over here, but it is going to be a little bit cheaper. But I wanted to share the way that we do, because we know that this 100% works. When we mount this up, yes, there's a little bit of stretching. Yes, there's a little bit of pushing and ratchet straps that we're going to show you guys here in a few minutes. But we know that once everything is tied in together, that it's going to be straight and level and to factory specs. So we know that this jig is going to get you exactly where you need to be. The cost of steel is ever rising. Your ability to lug around, you know, hundreds of pounds of steel if you don't have a big truck or you can't get it delivered, garage specifications, they might limit you. But if you can, I would strongly, strongly advise that you guys build yourself a jig like this. It's going to get you where you need to be and keep you square while doing it. Now, the next step in this process is we're going to start taking off the suspension on the Mustang, and we're going to show you how this actually fits in, put on all the supports, and get it fully on the jig. All right, so next step is we're starting to prep the car for the jig itself. Mainly the body parts that you need to pull off this. You need to pull off the wheels, obviously. The front bumper, the front valance. Start off with the little bumperettes that go on front, and then move to the valance, then the bumper. So your car should look something like this. Now, this is the first part of the mounting jig, so that's awesome. But as we move back, the second place that we mount the jig, where we want to attach this is right here at the idler arm, as well as up here at the steering box. And you'll notice it's a little crowded in there. So in a lot of cases, if you don't have a motor or long tube headers, this is very simple. You just take off the steering box, idler arm, drop them down, and then you can put the jig on that way. But I have some work to do to get these long tube headers out first so that we can get to the steering box as well as the idler arm, and then that way that second post of the jig will mount right in here. So while I'm doing that, working on headers, Dare Bear is working on getting the rear end out. This had disc brakes. So next thing that we have to do is take off the rear end. Basically what that involves is a couple of brake lines, e-brake. The rear drum brakes are off, but then the wheels have to go back on because we don't want to He-Man that shit, do we?
No.
We do not want to. So we'll throw the wheels back on it, take out the shackle bolts, drop the car back down, and then just pop those bolts out, the rest of the shackles. Get this rear end off, and then we'll get to start mounting a jig. So I'm gonna time lapse you back here because the light's better, and there's probably going to be a lot less angry faces versus up front where I have to take long tubes off.
I'll trade you.
I don't wanna. Time lapse! Now, if you're following along at home, your car should look something like this. Kind of. Like, so let's take a look at the jig completely mounted, and I'm going to give you what you need to do if you don't have like a 1,000-pound steel plate sitting at home just laying around to make sure you're level. Okay, so we do have this giant steel plate that we know is level. We've already leveled it out, etc. We took the wheels off and just set it flat on this, so everything from here up, we know everything is level. Now, if you don't have a plate at home, don't just use like a driveway or like, you know, busted concrete and stuff like that. Your car still needs to be level. The datums do. So what you can do is pick up a set of screw stands. They're kind of a pain in the ass, but this way you can make the small adjustments. Put your level side to side, make sure we're level this way. Put your level on the datum, make sure your datum's level. And you're gonna have to make small adjustments unless you have one of these things. So we know the car is level. That means that the next step is gonna be the biggest step and the scariest step. But we're gonna save that step for the next episode. So like, subscribe, do all the algorithm stuff. If you wanna help support the shop a little bit further, all of the parts that you're gonna be using for this, all the tools, etc., the links are gonna be down in the description. Or you could head over and get some cool merch. Link is also in the description. Next episode, we're going to be showing you how to cut this car in half, and it's a lot more complicated than you think. So until next time, do what you love. Don't be a dick, and as always, never be tamed. Peace!